Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. I'm so glad you could join me today. I've been playing around with a new set, new to me anyway, beautiful brush strokes, and there's a stamp set that goes with it, and I'll have to admit I just used the dies for this card, but I have made a Mother's Day card and I think it's awfully pretty, and it's a little fussy, but I think you're going to like it. So let's just get started. Okay, here is my card, and I have used the dies from this set that is called Beautiful Brush Strokes. And there's one die I can't put my hands on now, but I'm using this die, this die, this die, a larger one like this that I don't right this minute can't find, the flower bud, and the two leaves. And let me just show you this stamp set. It's called Brushed Blooms, and it's Let's Paint the Town as long as I'm home by 9 o'clock. You deserve it just because. Happy birthday. And then there's the leaves and the bud and a little splatter and some flowers, and it's very pretty. And I just used the dies on this card. And the other thing that I used, I made a, this is a single layer card, well, almost single layer. What I have is I used a regular Whisper White base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And then I used the largest of the Ornate frames dies. I think that's the right name. I'll put it up on the screen for you. It is this one, and it cuts out this beautiful frame, and I'm going to use that on the inside of my card. Let me show you the inside. Here I have just put that down and added yet another little flower to the inside. All right, there's very little stamping on this. I did use some different things on the inks, and I'll show you exactly what I did to get this look. And I decided it might be interesting. I stamped, I don't know if you can see this one. I'll kind of bring it up to the camera. This one I stamped in the background because I wanted some different color and texture, but it doesn't really show using that particular die. So there are two fill-in dies. This is one that has got a little less detail and actually can be a third layer on top of this one. And I thought that one might be kind of interesting to put behind here. Kind of interesting figuring out how this thing goes on here. Let's see. I have to really stop and think about it. But I think it's like that. Yeah, like that. And that would show more of the detail. And then I got to thinking, I stamped one in white and then did this detail over the top, and I wasn't crazy about that. I liked it better with the solid color behind it. So I thought I would use this with this, and the others, instead of just the plain yellow, I cut some backgrounds out of some of the designer series paper from the butterfly paper. And so I cut my pinks out in the patterns and the yellows out in this, and that's the only thing I'm going to change. I'm leaving the design of this thing the same. So what we need to do to get started, and we'll fool around with these a little bit, and there's a trick to putting these leaves together, which I'll show you as we get to that. Okay, so the very first thing I want to do is get my vellum laid down on my card base here. And I'm just looking at this vellum, and I'm seeing that not all of the little items are poked out of this. So I'll do that, make sure both of them are that way. Now this one seems to be all poked out completely. So what I did was I put this vellum right on the front of my card. And since this is going to go across this way, I can put lots of glue on this part and a little less on the ends because they're going to cross over here in the middle, and then my flowers are going to go across here. So what I did was I just used my dot runner and put some glue down in one of these corners like this, and just a tiny bit in the top corner so that that would stay down, and then this is nice and glued down, and it doesn't matter. It's got a little bit of extra glue residue, but it's going to do nothing but hold the flowers anyway. So this one, then I can put my glue on this piece and then a little bit in this corner and get that put down here on my card. And there you can see I've got little bits of glue residue, which you can erase. This doily is very sturdy. So there we go. I've got my glue down and my doilies down. Now, I have used Happy Mother's Day, and this Happy Mother's Day came from Best Dressed. So here's Best Dressed and a Happy Mother's Day, and I thought that one was kind of fun. It's kind of a fun font. So you need a small piece or a scrap of Whisper White or Basic White, whichever you're using, to put your Mother's Day stamp down on, and I used gorgeous Grape to do that. Let's get our stamping right out of the way. And I don't know if I showed you the inside, but it's very simple. Okay, so here we go. I've got my Happy Mother's Day, and I don't have my Pierce mat, so I'm going to do it on top of my silicone mat here and just tuck it over to one side. I want to do this where you can see, and I also want to try and get my head over the top so I can get it on here straight. So I apologize if my head gets in the way. But there I've got my Happy Mother's Day. Well, not straight, but we can fix that. And so what I'm going to do, let's see, my best shot is using a trimmer to make that straight. So I'm going to grab my little mini trimmer here. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut that top end so that it's straight. That's not too bad, but it does look like I need to take just a hair off the bottom because I put that on there kind of crooked. So there, that's nice and straight now, and I don't want to take the chance. I'm going to nip off this end and give it about the same margin on this side that I did on the other. There we go. All right. Now then, I do have a dauber and my gorgeous Grape ink that I'm going to use a couple of different times here. But right now, I'm just going to go around the edge of my Happy Mother's Day sentiment and get a little color along the edge of this tag. And there we go. That's all ready to go now. I'll set that aside and set my ink aside for now. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is start putting my flowers together. So on the yellow, what I did was, instead of doing this, which I did in this one, the smaller one I did do this way. This one is done in Mango Melody, and this one is done on the back side of some of that butterfly paper that had the yellow and the orange, and I thought that might be kind of interesting. Now there's two dies that fill in here, and I decided that it was a little busy for me if I used both of them, but they go in like this and fill in that way. And then there is this one, which you can layer over the top, and it gives you yet more dimension. But I thought it was more interesting with just one layer. The question is which layer. And so I'm thinking that I'm going to do this one with this more full cut. And what I did was I used a dauber and I used my pumpkin pie ink, and I went around the edges of, well, I went around the edges of this larger piece with the pumpkin pie, and I thought that was interesting with the yellow and some of the other colors that are on this. And then on this one, I'm just going to add a little bit of pumpkin pie to the middle so we get some real color variation coming through. Now, I also added some pumpkin pie around the edges of this die piece as well. And then, let me see if I've got a piece of scratch paper. I do. I just used my pumpkin pie in the middle to create kind of a center so that I could get plenty of color variation. And see, I think that's gorgeous. So I'm very pleased with that, with a little bit of pattern paper on the back. And on my pink ones, I did the same kind of thing. I had this pink, and then I had some pink centers. In order to get lots of contrast in the colors, I used Melon Mambo on this one to go around the edges like this, and I'm scared I'm going to put pink and pumpkin pie on that. I'm going to get rid of that, bring my Melon Mambo in here, and just kind of go around the edges and do what I did on the other one, and that is get a little of that Melon Mambo in the center. Then the same thing on this piece to get a little bit of color on this die cut piece. Not a lot, and it's pretty delicate, so you want to be pretty careful. And then put that in the center. Now, I think that is very pretty and gives a very different kind of look, but I kind of like it. Okay, so I think that is that one. Now, the purple, I couldn't find the right kind of designer series paper. I found one, but it had stripes on it. So I decided on the purple one just to use the gorgeous Grape. And so I'm going to go around the edges of this purple one here with the gorgeous Grape. And I need to do that with a large one. And I'm just going to add some of that gorgeous Grape in the center again. And then I'm going to add this piece in there. And the way you line these up is whether it's this one and there's this kind of edge that's more flat, and that matches this edge on the flower. And when you do that and you get it down here right, this little curly Q on this side comes right up around the edge of the flower on this side, and you get that perfectly spaced on there. And on this one, it's this little edge that is at the top of that, and that curly Q again comes around on the edge of the flower and fits right on there. So that is the way that you match those up. All right. Let's see. I need to also do some edging around the small one for the inside. And so I'm just going to go around that edge as well. And then I have my pretty little inside for this one, and it's the same kind of thing. There's kind of a more square edge here, and this has kind of a square edge, and then this bump at the top matches, and when you put that on there, that's what you get. So this needs a little bit of color on the inside of here to give some color, and then I'm also going to go around the edges of this piece. Now then, there's another flower that I put on here, and you can just see them sticking out here and here and here, and that is these buds. And here I have the purple one, and I am going to just add some color around the edge of that purple bud. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the yellow, with the pumpkin pie. So my flowers are pretty much prepared. Now on these leaves, I've done a few of them, but I have one to show you here. There's two die cuts. This is the leaf, and then this is the detail or the shading on the leaf. And I found that Tombow seemed to work the best, so I put just a little dot of Tombow here on the back of this leaf and kind of dotted it around. You can't have too heavy a hand on this, or you'll end up with a smear of glue. So I just barely dotted that around. And then I'm going to show you here. You pick that up, and that's how much glue I put on there. Not very much, just a little bit. And then this leaf, this part right up here at the top fits right over the top edge of this upper leaf. So if you can get that one on there, then the rest will fall into place by just wiggling them into place on the leaf itself and covering the bottom stem. And there it matches perfectly. And the Tombow worked so well with this because I still had just a little bit of wiggle power. So I've already done the rest of mine, but I wanted to show you how that worked. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive to the back of these pieces. And I am going to use my dot runner. And there we go. That is the pink one. Then the purple. Because this is the smaller version of that. But you can see I've got some purple, and I'm just going to add some more ink to that. There we go. There's my purple one. And then the yellow. And I just think these are so pretty. There's so much dimension on them. They're just beautiful. And so this one is for the inside. And I'm going to line that one up. And there's my flowers. There's my two buds. I had a pink bud earlier, but I don't see it here. Maybe it'll appear. There it is. It's on the floor. I'm going to go ahead and add the detail to this pink one just in case we want to add it. And that would be adding the melon mambo around the edges of the pink one. There we go. Isn't that pretty? All right. Now that we have our inking and our assembly done, I put quite a few leaves on this one to get the look that I wanted. I think I need one more flower. I need this one where I did the background in the mango melon, and a little bit on the inside. And then I put this yellow one, and I added some of the pumpkin pie around that one as well. And there we've got our smaller yellow one there. And I think I might add just a tiny bit more color to the inside of that one. There we go. And like I said, this one is a little on the fussy side because you have a lot of die cutting and a lot of piecing to do. And once you get all of your pieces done, it goes pretty quickly. So let's bring back our card base here. And the other thing we can do is to go ahead and adhere this piece to the inside of the card and get that ready to go. And it is white on white, but I thought that made this card look a little bit more elegant. So there we go. That piece is on the inside. All we have to do now is add our flowers. So what I used was dimensionals, and I only put one dimensional on the bottom of each flower, simply because I wanted to be able to tuck my leaves in without worrying that there was dimensional backs on the bottom of it. So this one goes down right here with one of these flowers, and on a lot of these flowers I put them flat on the card and just made sure that they had plenty of glue down. And in the case, some of these cases, the way you put them down, not even all of the leaves show. And on the inside of this one, I cut one of the leaves off and stuck it on this side. So you could easily do that and you wouldn't have to maybe cut so many. And then on this one, what I did was I tucked this little bud right underneath this leaf here so that it looked like it belonged to that little cluster of flowers. So on this one, I have put my pink flower over on this side, and I did raise all of these up on dimensionals. Anxious to see what this one looks like with the pattern paper underneath it. So this one went right in here. And on this one, I don't think I need all of the leaves, so I'm going to snip one of those leaves off and stick this one right in here. And you know, you can just do this however you want to fill in so it looks like you've got this nice and filled in. I can see now that this first one probably needs to go a little higher up on the card and put it so that it's much further up here. Then this one can more easily fit right in between those two. And then I did stick my pink bud right in there. So I'm going to do that and get that pink bud tucked right in between those two leaves there. There, isn't that pretty? All right, now my purple one is going to fill in here, and I have put that one so that it kind of overlaps these two flowers, and then it has some leaves, and I thought on this one I would add a few dimensional so that these leaves are raised a little bit. The others are mostly flat. And I suspect that I'd probably not get two out the same just because you just end up with inspiration to put it together differently. So I'm sticking this one right down in here, and then I wanted a place for my little purple bud, and I think I'm going to stick it right between those two leaves there. So I'm going to add some snail to the back of that and put it in between those two leaves and attach it really to the top of this leaf here. Then I have the smaller flower again to kind of tuck in here, and that one's just a little bit different because it's done on the Mango Melody base instead of the pattern base, and I suspect you could get all kinds of different looks by using different designer series paper as the backing on this. So I'm going to stick this one right down in here. Then I've got a couple more places to tuck some of these leaves. And that I think I'm going to stick right in here. And then I can use one at the bottom here, and I might put this one up on dimensionals. And tuck these leaves right in here. And there, isn't that just pretty? Okay, so the next thing I did use was I used some rhinestones. And I'll need this one and another leaf here in a second. So I ended up putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, one for the inside of the leaves in this particular arrangement. And I have this one I cut off that I really could fit in somewhere like that to just fill in a little bit, or stick right down in here. I think I like that idea better. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I hate wasting one of these leaves. It took a little bit to make, so I want to make sure I use them all. Let me just stick that one right in there. There we go. That fills in a little bit. All right, so on these rhinestones, I put the largest of the rhinestones right in the middle of these big flowers. Then I put a medium one in the center of the smaller flower. So here, and I'm going to do that same thing to this other purple one that's going to go on the inside. So like that. And then I used my sheer ribbon that is Gorgeous Grape, and I just tied the smallest knot bow in the world. I used a glue dot on the back side of my knot here, and I just stuck it along this edge, and it could go any place in here. I don't necessarily want it covering up that bud, but perhaps right in there. That's not going to stay down very well, so I might have to use another glue dot to encourage that ribbon to stay put. And there we've got a little ribbon bow knot there on our card. Now we had our Happy Mother's Day here, which is ready, but I did scatter a few more of these rhinestones And I didn't want them to interfere with my sentiment. And the sentiment is going to go up on dimensionals. And my sentiment is set to go right down here at the bottom of the card. There, I think that's very attractive. Now, this little flower here, let's take a look at this one, had, it looks like this piece cut off down here. Let's get some glue on the back of the flower and the leaves. And it looks like if I put the leaves there, I can put the flower right down in here, and then I can take this extra leaf and make sure that it gets tucked right underneath here. And there we go. That is our decoration for the inside, and I think that's just real pretty. All right, so that is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. I love my subscribers. Let's see. This is still March. So my prize draw for the month of March is a $60 shopping spree on me out of any of the catalogs. If you're a demonstrator, you know that won't be very long here, another week, and we'll be able to see the new annual catalog. We'll have a PDF available for us, and then if you're a demonstrator, you get to order earlier than everybody else from that catalog. I couldn't be happier with this little project. I think it's so pretty. And I love these dies. Now, like I said, they're a little fussy, but it really is very, very pretty, I think, the final outcome. Let's see. In order to get yourself into my drawing, you could need to put an order of any size on my store, lbedinger.stampinup.net, and you can get to it through my blog, www.ingenuity.com. And so, again, that's it for me, and I will be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!